Everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari. You can see the sun glistening on the beautiful treehouse dam as we get our afternoon started, and we're in for an absolute treat by the sounds of it, given what has been told to me on the radio. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and this is a live interactive platform, so that means hashtag Safari Live or the YouTube chat should you want to ask any questions or get hold of us. Now, I said that it sounds like there's lots happening on the radio. I've got an update that Tundi is on a kill, Husana on a kill, one of the Birmingham males on a kill, and the Angama Pride also drifting around with one of the Birmingham males. So it seems like we'll have a good afternoon. They said that they left the Angama Pride at Treehouse Dam, but as you can see, Treehouse Dam is bare at the moment. So I think what we're going to do is try and head down towards where Husana or Tundi is. Apparently they're very, very close together near Twin Dams, and we're going to try to see if we can't find them down that side, and then we'll come back to the Lions when it cools down a little bit. It is excessively warm this afternoon. It is about 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so it is very warm, and it seems as though our spring day was the only day of spring, and we've now moved straight into summer with the temperatures that we've got, and it seems to be steadily rising as the week goes ahead. So the forecast for the rest of the week is that we are going to have summer-like temperatures as much as even 38 degrees Celsius by next week, which is close to 100, just over 100 Fahrenheit, which is obviously very warm for this time of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects everything, particularly with heat and dryness. If we don't get any rain, that's going to probably lean that a lot of our water holes are going to dry quite quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gari Dam ends up drying in the next few weeks, and even Treehouse and Twin Dams are going to suffer a little bit as that goes on. But hopefully a bit of rain will be around the corner at some stage. Now, apparently one of the Birmingham males had a kill somewhere around Shabamu area, so we'll go that side a little bit later. They said that they were all fat and full and sleeping. What's that in the grass there? So I thought I've spotted something in the grass. Let's go and have a little look quickly. But it'll be a great way to come back to work after a nice leave, is to have a whole bunch of cats lined up all over the place. Is that a leopard there? It is a leopard. There we go. So we found ourselves a leopard already, which is fantastic news. So there in the long grass, which Seb is now trying to find, is a leopard. So you can see Seb is also struggling. There it is, straight ahead, Seb. So there is our leopard, tucked away in the grass. Now, who are you? I'm not sure who it is just yet. It's quite difficult to see. I've got lots of glare on my screen. It's still very bright, and from where I'm sitting, it's quite far away. You can see Seb is all the way zoomed in. So what a start to our afternoon. I didn't expect to find a leopard here. They said to me that the kills for these leopards were in other areas, and it looks just like Tundi. So I wonder if Tundi hasn't come for water after getting a kill and has now positioned herself in this area. Seb, let's just reposition ourselves so that we can actually see her better, but it looks like her. She's certainly making her presence known in this area these days. She's spending a lot more time, and that's just ridiculous. Well, Seb, can't ask for better than that to start our afternoon in that fashion. Now, of course, she does have a kill somewhere, but the guys explained it to me that it was close to Twin Dams, very close to Husana. Now I wonder if maybe Husana hasn't gone towards that kill, and maybe with his slight bulk has tried to bully her a little bit, or she just came for water and has decided to rest here for a little bit while she waits for the heat of the day to cool down, and then she'll go back to the carcass that might be stashed in a tree somewhere. I wonder if that over there, you see there's a bit of red in that tree. Yeah, there's the kill there. You see it, Seb, straight in front of us. Oh, yes. So there's a tree straight in front of us where there is the carcass is actually dangling over the branches. So it's in that tree somewhere around there, Seb, is where you'll see it. You can just see a bit of red and a leg that is dangling over it. There's no other leopards by the looks of it around that tree area. So I wonder if maybe she dragged it all the way here, put it up in the tree, and is now just resting fairly close by. Unfortunately for us, there is a deep drainage section here, so for now this is as close as we're going to be able to get. We'll have to probably go around onto the other side to be able to see her a little bit better. But what a fantastic way to start our day. But you can see she's just grooming herself. She's only popped her head up because we came past, so hopefully what we'll find is that she is going to spend a bit of time resting while it's warm, and then she'll get up later and start moving to the tree. Now, we're going to quickly jump across to Taylor so she can say hello to all of you this afternoon. I'm sure she's raring to go in the mire.
Very quickly, we have got a herd of zebra because that's the most prominent animal that we're seeing at the moment. I don't know where the wildebeest have gone. Perhaps they've gone back towards Tanzania. And hopefully we'll have lots and lots of elephants. But as you know, this is the live internet show. Hello, everybody. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today, doing his interview officially, I'm going to give you his real name, and then I'm going to give you his nickname as well, is Jahawi. Cool name, don't you think? But we're going to call him Ja. Well, that's what he's fondly known as. And I know you're all desperate and dying to have a look at what Ja looks like. So are you ready? Are you ready to see the man behind the camera? There we go. The stage is yours.
Hello.
There we go. So that is who is going to be doing all the filming today. Now, like I was saying, this is live, this is interactive, it's happening right now. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can chat to us on, of course, the YouTube chat. Now, I've been eaten by midges at the moment. They're not particularly nice. One has bitten me on my forehead. It's not great, and they're swarming around us. And one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about with Kenya, I must admit, is there's no guarri trees. What am I going to swat the midges and the flies with? I don't have a tail like a zebra. I don't think the young lion cubs would offer up one of the zebra wildebeest tails as their toys. I think that would be a bit rude. But anyways, we're going to try and find some lions. I just want to quickly check. I have to use my GPS, but it's not working. I have to just quickly see whereabouts we are. No. So it's not working. I thought it was this tree line, in fact. But we will give it a bash, because when we found them after the show, we were on the opposite side of the drainage line. I don't want to go opposite the drainage line. I want to go on the side that they are, just because it'll be, well, a lot easier to view them, because they were very far away. So it's a tricky one, so I don't really know what to do. Maybe we'll just go up the old spot where we had seen them and look from the distance, because there were lots of buffalo, there were lots of zebra in the area. So another thing that could have happened is perhaps those lions will maybe make a move, and then we won't need to go anywhere. Then we can just stay on the western side of the drainage. So that's also fine. Alice, anyone still there? I'm not convinced I have comms now. Right, so we're just going to bumble about. We've got a little bit of a way to go before we find the lions, if they are even still in the same spot. It's been quite cool for most of the day. It wouldn't have surprised me if they've actually moved off. Maybe they're elsewhere, but who knows? We'll have to go and investigate and explore, but we're going to try and head towards them. Obviously, we're going to try and focus on action this afternoon and spend some time with the cats. It was nice to do bits of bumbling, and for the last two drives definitely was really nice, but now we need to focus on getting the cats doing exciting things. That's of course the main plan. So I'm going to send you all the way back to South Africa to my dear friend Tristan, who has all the luck with the cats in the whole world, and it's good to have you back, and I hope that you had a fantastic holiday.
Well, thank you very much, Taylor. I did have a fantastic holiday, and I'm missing you this side of the world. It's strange to come back and not have Taylor here and hear a loud voice around camp, but I'm sure she's having a wonderful time. We spoke to Taylor, Ali and I spoke to Taylor a few days ago, and she seems as if she was loving every minute of it, so I'm glad you're enjoying it, Taylor. But we have had a bit of luck. You can see Tundi's now sitting right next to us, and it's most definitely her now that we've come closer, without a doubt, that beautiful face that she has. She's one of the prettier leopards, in my opinion, in this area. I really do enjoy spending time with her, and she's a little bit on the grumpy side. I think she's a bit hot at the moment. It is excessively warm for a leopard, so I'm sure she's just on the warm side. And interestingly enough, from what I can gather, where we are now is actually where the guys said that Hosanna had the kill. So the kill that I showed you in the tree apparently is Hosanna's kill, and then her kill is somewhere here. So she was coming to check out what was going on with Hosanna this morning, and as she was checking out what was happening in the tree, a Steenbok came running straight towards her and she grabbed it and killed it. So there's 2 carcasses in this potential area. I'm just not sure where is where at the moment and who is who. I can also hear the Franklin's alarm calling, so I think Hosanna must be somewhere close by as well. But you can see she's found herself a little bit of shade just to lie down and have a bit of a snooze. David, you want to know if female leopards are better at climbing trees than male leopards? Well, David, no, not really. The male leopards are just as good at climbing as the females are. In fact, the males can take up much bigger carcasses than what the females can because of that extra amount of power that they have in their bigger body size. But what the females have is they have a lot more agility when it comes to being in trees, and particularly if they get chased up by things like lions, you'll find that they're able to go into areas where the branches are a lot more narrow and a lot thinner, and they can then balance on those smaller branches, whereas the males tend to be a little bit clumsy in those big areas. In those areas where it's a little bit tight and where the branches are a little bit thinner. So you'll find females can go into places that males can't, but in terms of the actual climbing ability, both of them are just as adept at climbing as the other. There's really no difference between males and females, and both can do it very, very well. But you can see she's grooming quite a bit as well. So when they lie in the grass like this, they often will groom a lot, especially if they've been sleeping for some time, because they'll pick up little parasites, so things like ticks will crawl onto them. You'll find that their little bits of fur will dislodge as they've been rolling around trying to get comfortable, and so they often do groom themselves just prior to lying down or to moving. So it's quite a common thing to see. Interestingly enough, though, she hasn't actually eaten too much. I'm sure it's just been too warm for her today. This temperature is a lot warmer than what we've had over the last few months, and it takes a bit of time for the cats to kind of get used to it. And you'll find that they spend their time then in the shade like this, where they're going to kind of pant and take it very easy and make sure that they can just cool down a little bit, and then she'll feed in the cool of the night later. So I'm hoping that if we spend time with her, that Hosanna will arrive at some point and maybe go to that other carcass in the tree, and if he does, then maybe she'll get up and take us to her carcass. We also know that the lions are not far away at all. So Tax said to me this morning, when they found Tundi and she made the kill, the lions were actually, they could see the lions in the background walking through. So the lions are also somewhere around here. So it's a perfect recipe for a whole bunch of action to play out once the sun goes down. I think prior to that, we're going to have a situation where most of these cats are going to be fairly sleepy and just taking it a little easy in the hot weather. One nice thing is that there's at least a breeze. You can feel there's this nice breeze just kind of blowing across, and it's a good place for her to be. She's on this kind of drainage section, and it funnels through here, and it's much nicer when that wind blows than when you're out in the sun. She's also found herself some nice shade, so it's not too bad. Shame, Michael, is it hot today? She is looking magnificent. Starting to get a little bit older. So I believe a lot of you are commenting that I've already had luck on my first day back. It is quite strange. I don't know why these things happen. It was just more a fluke than anything else. As we kind of drove past, it was just something out the corner of our eye that seemed strange, and well, we got lucky that there was a leopard. I think if I had to count the amount of times that I've reversed to try and see something that I thought was out of place, and it had been just a rock or tree or grass, it would probably be 9 out of 10 times. So we get lucky every now and then, and well, I suppose positive vibes mean we get to see good things at times. If she was lying where she is now, there's not a chance we would have spotted her from where we did earlier. It's now she's gone completely flat, and she's really camouflaging very well. But I think that's going to be her for a lot of the afternoon. Every now and then she picks up her head when the Franklin's alarm call. I'm sure she knows that there's another leopard in this general vicinity, given that she saw Hosanna this morning. So sure, she just kind of picks her head up every now and then. Also, there will be a scent of lions that have been drifting around in this area, and that will mean that she'll be a bit wary of what's going on. So she won't be as fast asleep as she would be if she was all on her own and she hadn't seen lions or leopards during the morning. So a little bit more nervous. But look at that breathing, how fast it is. So that's all just to try and cool that body down. So much like a dog panting, it's the exact same thing. She just opens her mouth, rapid breathing rate, just to try and get that body temperature to come down as much as possible, to try and deal with this hot weather. She's found herself a good spot now, though. It looks like the perfect place to have a good rest. It's nice and shady and cool. I can tell you in the sun though it is not so pleasant, because where we're sitting is in the sun a little bit, and it is a warm day, that's for sure. And like I say, I think it feels like we've just missed spring completely. Spring kind of came and went in about 2 days, and we've now gone straight into summer. And given that the temperatures are only getting worse, it seems as though we're going to have a very short spring this year. The nice thing about this time of the year, and why I'm very excited to be back for this next little month or so, is that we're going to see so many changes in the bush over the next few weeks. We're going to get a lot more flowering plants, which is fantastic news. So we'll get our wild pears flowering and start to see the scotias flowering as well. So it's going to be really cool to see this sort of change that the bush is going to go, particularly if we get a bit of a rainstorm. That might just green everything up and we'll have an explosion of life. Now, I believe it's not just myself and Taylor. There is also Mr. Scotty Dyson, who's driving around the Mara and is looking around and trying to see what else he can find. I believe he's been spending lots of time with the cheetahs, so hopefully he'll have some more luck with those predators.
Camera. We have had a very wonderful day. For those of you who weren't on the sunrise safari, you would have missed out on some great action that 5 cheetahs provided us with. It's an incredible coalition called the Musketeers. Sorry, this fly is giving me a bit of a hard time. Unpracticed. Djuma, there seem to be a lot more flies. I used to be able to sit and watch them on my nose. So we're going to go and look for them now. I'm not expecting great things from them this afternoon because they're still going to be full-bellied. But the plan is to spend the night with them, follow them until they go to sleep, which is usually between kind of 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock at night, and then wake up first thing in the morning and hopefully follow them on a hunt. So those are our plans. We left them about 1 kilometer to the southwest of us now, and they were moving north, so we're driving along what's called the Talek River. You may see a strip of green over there, that's the Talek River, and I'm hoping they haven't crossed it. If they have, the good news is that it's not flowing too strongly for us to cross. Sometimes it is the case. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are happy to have Tristan back behind the wheel. Not sure how long he's been gone for, I've lost track of time, but he's certainly been away, enjoying some time off. And I'm sure you're also just happy to be driving around the Sabi sands as well. So it's not only the Mara you get to traverse, but also the wonderful Sabi sands, which complements this area so well. They're very different ecosystems, and I think the two complement each other incredibly well. Just the fact that Tristan's already got a leopard for you guys to see is testament to that. There are not as many leopards here, or maybe there are, but they're not as easy to find and possibly not as habituated. Now, for those of you who may be joining for the first time, we would love to know who you are, how you found us, and what you think of the safari so far, or what you might want to see on the safari. So please let us know. It's very easy. You can just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, and please do send through your questions, comments and thoughts, otherwise it's awfully lonely out here. Marvelous. I can't believe how green this grass is. They've obviously got some good rain here in the week or so that we've been gone, and I'm told a lot of you are very, very excited that we have been spending time with cheetah again yesterday and today, as well as the prospects of spending more time with them, and as am I. They are incredibly beautiful creatures and have provided us with so much excitement over the last couple of months. They're an animal that we sadly haven't been able to share many sightings with you guys during our time down south in the Sabi sands. There's not many cheetah there. So they often like to sleep in this little valley under some gardenia thickets, and I'm already seeing some vehicles. So we're learning some interesting behavior about these cheetah. Had I not spent time with the cheetah in the past, I would not have found them this morning. and it's great that their behavior is beginning to become a little bit predictable, as I'm sure this is where they are here. Woohoo! Mr. P, yes, of course I would stop for a leopard if we saw one, even though my focus and goal is to get some cheetah for all of us to spend time with. I would not forego any other interesting animal or sighting if Mother Nature presented it to us, and I could think of nothing better than showing you guys a leopard. I've yet to show you one here in the Masai Mara, and I've only seen one myself in the 2 months of being here. He was a beautiful, beautiful big male. Where are the cheetah? Okay, we'll just snipe you a view from here. Just snoozing under the bushes over there. And I'm guessing that they could well be snoozing for quite some time. You can see their bellies are filled with some tasty wildebeest that they snacked on this morning. It was an incredible chase and hunt, the most exciting that I have been lucky enough to share with you. We had to race after them and stop the vehicle on 2 occasions once we had kind of caught up to the action, and Manu did a great job on camera because the hunt absolutely ambushed us. We were certainly not ready for the action when it unfolded. Oh, Linda, thank you very much for your kind words regarding my hard work. I am fortunate in that my work is something that is very, very cool, and that makes it very easy to do. So the more time I can spend out in the field with you guys, the happier I am. Gives me an excuse not to check my emails. Well, not really, actually, because we've got Wi-Fi on the vehicle, so it's not a good enough excuse. But as long as we're busy on safari, I guess I can't be checking my mails. And I am loving every moment of it. Hello to Andy. You'd like to know if there is a vehicle limitation per sightings here in the Mara, and not really, but depending on the nature of the sighting, the rangers and researchers are the 2 people that kind of monitor and police the amounts of vehicles that come into sightings. But there can be a lot of vehicles in sightings here. There's no 2 ways about it. But thankfully, I mean, everyone kind of self-polices one another. Occasionally, you get somebody who does the wrong things, but you know, in general, it does work surprisingly well considering how many vehicles can be in a sighting. People generally are quite caring and thoughtful of the animals. So there is no limit here like Djuma. So it's quite a different experience regarding that and the vehicles. It's more of a free-for-all. Hello, Will. You are wondering whether it's not dangerous to go out in a completely open vehicle like this. And no, it's really not. And if we were to wind back the clocks a couple of thousand years and drive a vehicle into a wild wilderness like this, all the animals would flee from it. We're a large, noisy being once we are in the vehicle, and quite intimidating. So all wild animals in all wild parks have slowly, over many, many years, become accustomed to vehicles and us as humans. So they don't see us as a food source, they don't see us as a threat, they merely see us as spectators, which is the best position we could possibly be in with regards to wild animals. The less we get involved and the more we leave them to do their business, the same they'll do for us. So we're not really at risk. Certainly on foot it becomes a different story, but out here at the moment we are safer than you would be in just about any city. So good news. Sorry, I think I misread the comms earlier. I thought Tristan had already found you a leopard, but he obviously hasn't, or he's left it because he's found you another spotted creature. And, well, maybe it's 2 spotted creatures. I guess you guys would love to go and find out exactly what is going on down there with him. Welcome back, Tristan, and enjoy the 2 spotted animals in one sighting.
Thanks, Scotty Dyson, and you enjoy your spotted animals. I don't know who's more jealous of who. I think Scotty with the leopards and me with, well, jealous of his cheetahs. But yes, you can see we have another spotted creature, and it's not Hosanna at this stage. We went driving around just to see if we can't find Hosanna and follow up on those francolins that were alarm cloning close to Tundi, and we bumped into a hyena. I'm not sure which hyena it is yet. It's kind of been sleeping very flat, and actually that's the first time it's put up its head. So for all our hyena experts out there, hashtag Safari Live or on the YouTube chat as to who this may be. I don't know if it's going to be easy to idea it from just the head shot like that, but there's the rest of the body, and you can see that hyena has definitely had something to eat. So there is a nice full belly. I wonder if it maybe hasn't stolen the other carcass, because remember there was a carcass from Hosanna and there was one from Tundi. So I don't know if maybe this hyena has managed to grab one of those 2 or the bits of it, and has had a really good meal this morning, and is doing much like what Tundi is doing, and that is having an absolute fat nap in the shade. It still kind of pushes its head up every now and then just to see what's going on, but other than that, it is very, very dormant. I would imagine Hosanna must be here somewhere, because I've done a loop all the way around and I'm yet to find his tracks coming out of this area. It seems as though the only tracks that we found were where Tundi dragged the kill to the tree itself. So I'm sure Hosanna is here as well. We'll just have to try to see if we can find him. But what a way to come back to work, to have 2 leopards and a hyena in the same proximity, and the chance of the Angama pride bumping into all of this a little bit later would be quite fantastic too. So I reckon we're in for a good eat this afternoon. I keep looking back just to see, because the hyena keeps picking its head up and looking over its shoulder, so I was just wondering if Hosanna maybe was somewhere on one of these trees. Samora, you want to know, is a hyena match for a leopard? Well, most certainly. A big adult female hyena will take on female leopards without a shadow of a doubt, and they'll also even take on young males. Inexperienced young males like Hosanna or Tamba would be dominated by big adult fully grown hyenas. They are big, they're bulky, and they've got serious power in their jaws. So leopards know that it's rather than fighting over a small bit of meat, they'll often just leave it and try and get up into a tree and get out of the way of the hyenas. I've seen a couple male leopards stand their ground in their time. So I've once had a sighting of Anderson, and it was amazing, because Anderson is probably one of the biggest male leopards that I've seen out in this area, and he was sleeping much like this hyena was sleeping, and was busy taking it very easy, and he was kind of watching, and in the distance some of these hyenas started to arrive, and there was a couple females in there, and there was one female in particular, and she's from the Elephant Plains clan, which is just to our west, and she's a big ginger hyena, and she's massive, and she's got this kind of distended belly from all the young ones that she's had, where it's herniated, and she's really a big girl, but she has no time for any other cats. She's always quite aggressive, and Anderson was kind of watching and thinking to himself, well, nothing's going to happen, and he just kind of flopped back down, and from the top of this hill, it was about 120 meters, this hyena just started running, and Anderson kind of popped his head back up and was watching her come, and she kept coming, and eventually Anderson realized, well, this is not going to work for him, and he tried to kind of turn, but at that time the hyena hit him and knocked him off the bank, and he went rolling down and ran up into a tree. So even a big male leopard like that can sometimes fall foul to hyenas, but generally the male leopards and hyenas will kind of just stand their ground with one another and leave each other alone. But this particular female hyena was having none of it when it came to Anderson. Right, I think, Seb, let's just quickly check if we can't see any sign of Hosanna. Noel, you wondering if the leopards put prey up trees to keep it away from other animals? Well, that's exactly why they're doing it. So they're putting their prey up a tree to get it away from the likes of these hyenas. Hyenas are not able to climb like the leopards are. Of course, lions in a tree like this would most certainly be able to get up there and take that kill away. So if the Angama pride came across this carcass and saw it from a distance, they would go up into the tree and grab it, and they would feed on it themselves. Because lions, everyone thinks lions can't climb. They actually can climb, and they do climb quite well. It's just that they are not very graceful coming down. So leopards do it mainly to get it out of the way of things like hyenas and jackals, and a little bit to a degree of lions. If they can get it into a tree that's densely foliated and hidden from lions, then you'll find that they will try and put them up there for that reason. But mostly it's to get rid of... Oh, did you see that, Seb? That's amazing. And there's Hosanna. There was a slender mongoose that was feeding off the carcass, and it did a suicidal dive out of the tree, and Hosanna went chasing after it. That's ridiculous. I've never in my life. So there we go. That just shows you that mongoose will actually scavenge off a carcass in a tree. That is crazy. Well, hello, Asana. That was absolute madness. The slender mongoose was so scared of us that it literally jumped from where that carcass is now, out the tree and down, and ran across this sort of gap that you see here, and Hosanna came bounding off after it when he saw it falling out of the tree. That's ridiculous. And look at that full belly. Have you been eating nicely, my boy? He's looking so good. Big and healthy and full-bellied, and a little uncomfortable, I would say, with all that food. So there we go. 2 spotted cats and a spotted hyena as well, and a slender mongoose. It's proving to be quite the predator-filled afternoon already. That's just crazy. That is honestly the first time I've ever seen a mongoose in a tree and then fall out of the tree trying to get away from us. That's absolutely insane. How did that mongoose get up there? That's madness. You can see it's quite a long way up, so that mongoose has had to have run all the way up there and that way without being spotted by any of these cats. That is ridiculous. How is that possible? Amazing. See something new all the time. It just goes to show that we, as much as we see a lot and we spend a lot of time out here, around any corner at any time can be something that you just completely have never seen before. That is absolutely astounding. Now, poor Sana is going to the toilet, so we'll just give him a little bit of privacy. We're not going to zoom in while he has his toilet time, although it looks like he's now going to find himself a spot to lie down. Don't smell your own dung. There we go. Are you going to come lie by us? No, he's going to sit now and he's going to watch his carcass very carefully. So he's going to make sure no other slender mongoose goes up there. He's also watching a few birds. Oh, look, there's the other carcass. You see it, Seb? Both carcasses are here. So, sorry, my hand got in the way there, but there's the other carcass high up in the tree. So Tandi and Hosanna have got their carcasses both in the same tree. Now that's one for the books. So there's the steenbok up at the top that Tandi killed this morning. Because I asked Tax and he said they actually saw it happening this morning on drive. So that's the steenbok. You can see it's not eaten at all. It's completely whole. And then the impala, the young impala, is the one that the slender mongoose was busy feeding off, which is that carcass a little bit further down. Seb, there we go, that one. So, and that's the impala carcass, which is about a 2-day-old carcass. So apparently this was found yesterday morning, which is pretty insane. So that is a turn up for the books. I would have thought they would have tried to put their kills in different trees and not to utilize the same tree, but maybe they didn't see one another and they kind of just put it up, and that's how it is. But it seems like Taylor has raced through the Masai Mara and she's going to complete a predator-filled afternoon with the tawny-colored cats.
We have managed to find the lions that we were searching for. We actually were able to locate them earlier this morning, just after the drive had ended. This is what I think is 2 of the sausage tree pride lionesses, fast asleep with their heads tucked in the long grass. Interesting though, I'm trying to remember how many cubs they had, because from all my notes that I've got from what various people have said, that there were 5 cubs. Now, I'm trying to remember, maybe you can all help me out here. The sighting we had of them eating the zebra a couple of mornings ago. Does anyone remember, or maybe have a full portrait of all the lions and can count the cubs? Because we've only got 4 cubs here, and I thought I remembered seeing 5 as well, so I'm a little bit on the confused side here. But anyways, the 2 lionesses, they don't look particularly thin. It's hard to tell though, because there's a carpet of lions at the moment scattered around in the grass. They don't look very fat, so I don't know when they last ate, maybe a couple of days, or maybe 2 days ago or so. There's plenty of game around though. There's buffalo, there is also zebra and all sorts of things. Now, Angelique, you said the sausage tree pride? Yes, yeah, this is most certainly the 2 lionesses from the sausage tree pride. What we are trying to work out, though, is exactly how many cubs we saw the other morning, because I thought we saw 5. I really did. I thought we had Maybe it was 4. I've completely forgot. I wasn't paying attention, to be honest. I've only just started properly making notes now, once I could go and do a bit of research myself. But they're fairly flat for now. They don't look like they're going to get up and do too much. But I think there's exciting prospects for later tonight. Hopefully they'll go across and catch one of those buffalo. The zebras seem to have moved off and closer towards the escarpment, because they were actually surrounded by animals this morning, but they were sitting in the lugger, and maybe as the day warmed up slightly, it wasn't particularly hot, they just decided to come and lay out in the grass. Like Kimberly, you've said yay lions. No surprise there. We're in the Mara, the land of lions, which is very exciting. But we'll see. We'll sit here for maybe about 45 minutes or so. If they don't get up to too much, we'll probably go and find something else. Maybe we'll quickly pop past the Jackal den and come back this side. They're fast asleep. Absolutely fast asleep. Leo, you've said look at the beautiful background. It is nice. You may even be able to see that there's a bit of a storm brewing. You can especially see it in the far western corner of the escarpment. It's not great, but Jar seems to think, and he knows this area very well. He says that he thinks we might be lucky, and that the storm is just sort of brewing on the escarpment, and hopefully it doesn't come down onto the plains. But I'm watching these clouds creep over closer and closer. But the worst stuff is actually ahead of us. But it's okay for now. You can hear the thunder just rumbling in the distance. Now I panic when I hear the thunder after the storm we got stuck in yesterday. It was hysterical, getting completely drenched in literally seconds. It was amazing. I can't believe how big those raindrops were. One hit me on my head, as I forgot to tell you this. I was quite sore. I was a little bit upset by the rain, that it could hurt me. Never did I think that rain could really hurt that badly, but nothing happened. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the rain doesn't play games here. But there they are, just absolutely fast asleep, not really doing too much at all. Listening to the crickets, perhaps. There's the big clouds I was telling you about. Big cumulonimbus clouds forming in the sky. That's a massive one. But luckily it's far away from us, and the wind is blowing it in a southwesterly direction. So it's not going to come back and around towards us. Thank goodness for that. I don't know if I heard correctly. That sounded terrible, Alice. Please can you repeat that again? I'm not, because I'm too scared to repeat what I heard. Snazzy? No, I heard something very bad there. Snazzy, I'm wondering where my sock buddy is. I didn't hear that the first time around. You're talking about, you can't call Maurice a sock buddy. And even though he's a stuffed toy, he's fantastic. Maurice, how do you feel about the elephants? Not the elephants, we're looking at lions. You're an elephant. I don't know what he really thinks about anything. He doesn't say much. He's quite quiet. Perhaps he'll come out of his shell in the next few weeks. We have only really just met. Anyways, we're going to go back across to Tristan now. How can I tease him? Let me think. I'm going to actually think about something to tease Tristan about. But let's go across to the man who knows how to clean bathrooms really well.
Oh, Taylor McCurdy. Are we going to start this now? So the banter never ends with Taylor and Byron. It's quite funny. Yesterday I was with Byron. We had lunch together, and it was quite an entertaining lunch, wasn't it, Seb? Seb also joined us as well, and we missed Taylor, and we sent Taylor a few voice notes, and the banter just never stops between them all. So we'll just have to think of things that we can talk about with Taylor. I will tell you one thing though, Taylor. As per normal, Byron has left our cars dirty, which will definitely make Taylor smile, because she knows that every time when she comes back from leave, the cars are normally clean. I make sure that I wash them for her, and she does the same for me. But with Byron, he likes to leave them dusty for us, so it's quite funny that she always gives Byron a hard time. But you can see Hosanna is still very sleepy at the moment. He's really not too interested in what's going on. I would imagine that both of these leopards are going to come to this area around sunset. Both of them should start moving up towards this tree and start getting into feeding mode. Hosanna is so full, I would imagine that he's going to kind of not take any chances in feeding in this heat. He'll rather go up when it gets cooler. The interesting thing is going to be to see if Tundi gets a chance, because Tundi's dragged that kill all the way and put it up in this tree. Now, she can't get to that carcass without having to first come towards Hosanna, and the interaction between those two is going to be absolutely fascinating, because while she can be very aggressive towards Shongile, as we've seen in the past, and she's chased Shongile away. With Hosana, it's the same size leopard. Hosana is probably actually a bit bigger and bulkier than what Thandi is already, and he's not going to back down for food. And it's going to be interesting to see whether her older, more experienced or her level of experience comes through and is able then to keep Hosana away from this carcass, or if Hosana is just going to keep Thandi away, and Thandi is going to end up sitting like she would if it was a dominant male. If there was Tingana was here, Thandi would have no chance at getting anywhere near this particular carcass. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually gets to feed off what. It's definitely the Steenbok has not been fed on at all, so there's still a lot of meat in that Steenbok. You can see Hosana is kind of looking at the Steenbok. That's much fresher meat. I would imagine when he does go up, that's where he's going to go and eat. The problem is where that carcass is not very friendly at all in terms of our cameras. Seb, you're going to have a tough time up in there. It's right up against the light, so hopefully if he does feed off that, he'll bring it down into a better spot. But isn't this wonderful? What a way to come back to work. It doesn't get any better than this. Mr. P, you're commenting on just how heavy he's breathing. Well, Mr. P, his rate of breathing is very heavy, and it's exactly like Thandi. You're going to see both of them breathing heavily, and it's because of the warm weather that we're having. Remember, it's been a fast change from the cooler, colder temperatures. Before I went on leave, I was wearing a jersey in the afternoons, whereas now there's not even a chance that we could wear that. So that, coupled with the fact that he's distended stomach and he's full, he's pushing up in his lungs, it's causing a shorter breath to be taken, as well as him being hot. He's trying to pant and just cool himself down, so he's going to be very heavy breathing. But it's interesting to see just how much he's kind of growing. Every time I see Hosana, he seems to be just adding on a few sort of extra kilos, and while he might not be massive in terms of his height yet, or even his head size, he's definitely starting to bulk up, and his shoulders are getting bigger. He's starting to get a lot more muscular around the legs and shoulder area. So it's really interesting just to see his development, and I'm so glad that he's making kills around Djuma. It means that we should see a lot more of him over the next little bit. I wonder if Tingana's been seen much. Did you see much while I was away, Seb? Not much. A couple of times. It was a couple of times more than what we saw him when I was here last cycle. I didn't see Tingana at all, really, in the last 3-week cycle that I did. So it'll be interesting to see how Tingana starts to take Hosana. The more he bulks up and the bigger he gets, and the more he has carcasses like this, the more likely Tingana is to start pushing him and chasing him into other areas. But hopefully Hosana will be clever enough to just sneak around and keep these places for himself, and just kind of be like a Mvula in a way, and move around as Tingana moves, move into a section where he isn't, and utilize that area to try and stay clear. I'm surprised though, because if he's had this carcass for 2 days, if Tingana comes past, which he often does in this area, and will probably then chase Hosana away. So I wonder if now with this other kill being here, if maybe Tingana might arrive at some point. Imagine if we get a third leopard this afternoon. That would just be ridiculous, but not uncommon, as we know. Now, James, you wonder if Hosana stole the kill from Thandi, and that's why the carcass is in the same tree. Well, James, I saw where the carcass was. So the carcass was dragged from where we saw her earlier, and then it was dragged along the road, and the tracks that were dragging it was for Thandi, so it wasn't for Hosana, dragging it straight towards this tree. So what might have happened is she might have wanted to come towards this tree, and then maybe Hosana saw her and has grabbed it and taken it up. It's possible. The other thing is there's really not too many other nice trees in this particular area to hang a carcass, so she might have hung it next to me. There's another tree, but it's really kind of adjacent to the one that we see here. But maybe Hosana grabbed it at some point and took it up into this area. It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. The thing is, though, I would have expected Thandi to give a lot more of a fight to keep her carcass than to just let Hosana take it from her. But interesting either way, and like I say, as the sun starts to set and the evening starts to kind of close in, it's going to be very, very interesting and intriguing to watch these two leopards and how they actually approach one another. Normally with big male leopards, like I say, Thandi wouldn't really worry. She might come closer and look and chuff a little bit and try and kind of work her way into the tree without the male getting too upset. But with Hosana, if she's brave enough and strong enough and hisses and growls and charges at him, you might find that because of his inexperience, he might run, and that will allow her to get up and feed. But most certainly, if you look at the size of his belly and you look at hers, she's had not very much at all to be able to feed on. It's been pretty much him eating everything so far, so it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not she just abandons this or she decides to try and fight him off of the carcass. Now, we've had far too many fighting of leopards lately, so hopefully that doesn't happen. So Mr. P, you were wondering, he was 13 months when he was left alone by Kruger. Well, unfortunately was basically orphaned by Kruger, and is this normal time for leopards to be left on their own? Mr. P, no. So, well, no is not really the right answer. It's possible. So most of the time, leopards will generally stay with their mothers for a little bit longer than that, normally up towards 2 years. So they say generally between 14 months and 2 years. So I suppose it's not too far away. But given that she was, still looking after them so much, I think that process was still going to take quite a while. So I would have imagined that it would have been closer towards the 2 year side than the 1 year side that happened to him. There has been leopards that have left their cubs at 10 months and those cubs have survived. But generally the mothers will keep them for a while, and particularly males like Hosanna, they tend to latch onto their mothers for a lot longer than the females. You'll often find male offspring staying with the females for longer periods. I saw when I was at Sinkita, we had Ravenscourt female, and at one point she had a male called Chinzele, and then she had 2 younger males, and the 2 younger males were already a year old, and Chinzele, who was now almost 3.5, was still actually with his mother, and she was looking after both the older male and the 2 younger ones, which is completely unusual and not something you would hear of. And the 4 of them used to walk around together. It was really quite strange to see. But the males tend to try and latch onto mom for longer. It's easier. Remember that they as soon as they go off on their own, they then deemed to be a threat by other males and are pushed around and have to be nomadic. So if they can stay with mom as much as possible and be fed and grow and get bigger, it's only going to mean better things for them as they become older and try and then start moving up in the world and to get a territory of their own. So it was probably a bit early for Hosanna, but as you can see, he's doing just fine. He's really kind of figuring it out. He's managing to pull down quite large antelope in the form of these impalas that you see here, and his condition is fantastic. And we're 6 months down the line now, and he is in no way looked as though he struggled from day one. So he just goes to show that leopards are very resourceful creatures, and they'll survive off anything if they have to. We know that he used to hunt monitor lizards and terrapins as it started, and he's graduated now into these antelopes. And now that he's killing antelopes like this, you're going to find a situation that he's really should be well set to carry on with life and should be able to find his way. His biggest challenge now obviously is to find a territory and to not only find a territory but to be able to dominate it and keep others at bay, and that's going to be very difficult considering the density of male leopards within this northern section. He's been aided somewhat by the current sort of bad luck that we've had with the Sabi Sands leopards of late, where there's been a number of males to the south of him that have succumbed for various reasons, and that's almost opened up an opportunity for Hosanna in a way. We know that his older brother in the form of Kunuma has moved into some of those areas where male leopards have been killed by lions or are no longer alive, and he's forged a territory of his own. So I wonder if Hosanna is going to follow a similar pattern and shift in that southward direction towards those areas. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Tingana is still fit and healthy enough that Hosanna doubt is going to get this particular section just yet, but you never know. Tingana is getting older, as is Mvula, and both of those males theoretically are around the 12-year mark, and that's quite old for a male leopard. And so you'll find that they'll reach 12, 13, 14 and maybe disappear. So it might actually be perfect timing for Hosanna to actually move into this area and take over. Now we're going to sit with Hosanna, but let's, while we do that, go across to Scott in the Mara, who's gazing upon not an impala but a little Thompson's gazelle.
Is this not an absolutely beautiful scene with all these little white flowers that have only emerged in the last week or so, along with the Thompson's gazelle, as always wagging their little tails. The very dark backdrop, and that dark backdrop is a little bit of a concern. I've also heard some thunder rumbling off to the north, and we may have another afternoon deluge. And after last night's antics, I'm not sure if I'm ready to get soaking wet again. It was a fairly cold and long drive home, but certainly worth it. Beautiful. So you obviously realize we've moved away from the cheetah. We've just taken a short drive in the hope that we could find you some beautiful, beautiful scenes like this while the cheetah are sleeping, but we will be heading back there shortly just to make sure we don't miss out on any action. Martin, great to have you with us. You would like to know, how do we get the picture from our vehicle straight to you guys live? And that is an incredibly good question for which I do not have the appropriate know-how, expertise, or knowledge as to how exactly it works. But I think it basically goes straight from the vehicle up to a satellite, and then I think from a satellite it goes to some funky machine in London, and then from London I think it gets shot out to all around the planet. I think that is how it works. There's a whole bunch of fancy machines called encoders and modulators and a few that I don't even know the names of, that are fairly intricately wired together in order to get this worked out. Our tech wizard in Camp Jared is having a little bit of a giggle in the final control room, I think, as to my explanation as to how it works. But what I can tell you, Martin, is that our team of tech guys are serious pioneers within this industry. They are ahead of the game and often have to build their parts and kind of interconnect strange things that aren't supposed to be connected in theory. So it certainly is a lot of fun watching from a distance as they tweak and jiggle cables to make the feed and picture work. Even building the camera rigs is something that the cameramen and the tech guys also do on site. We've got a over and under double-decker camera combo with a infrared camera on the bottom and a thermal camera on the top. Sadly, that thermal camera is taking a few days off. Roshni, I am very happy that you are enjoying this beautiful, beautiful view. Isn't it just something else? The vistas, along with the animals that are dotted through them in the Masai Mara, certainly make for some wonderful, wonderful views. A very calm and peaceful scene here. Hello, Cherie. You'd like to know if the animals ever get heat stroke. Look, I don't know if heat stroke is what would actually be the main concern for animals in very hot areas, but certainly I think it will have an effect on them. They may kind of dry out and dehydrate at a faster rate, but here in the Mara it's not very hot. Throughout the year the temperature's fairly constant. Because we are on the equator, you don't find huge differences in temperature between the seasons. And like I say, the Mara is typically quite cool. There are other wilderness areas throughout Africa where you do get very, very hot environments, where some of the animals are adapted specifically to live in them, and or have learnt the ways of the wild to be able to survive there. Anka, you would like to know what these white flowers are, and unfortunately I do not have the faintest idea, but let me reverse a bit and try and get Manu an opportunity to film one, and maybe you guys can try and work it out. I don't have a flower book with me. I want to go down onto this white one right here and see if you can get a good angle on it. That should work nicely. So this is what they look like up close. Very pretty. But I wouldn't even hazard a guess as to what it could be. Hello, Eric the Poet. And you've mentioned that these flowers have just bloomed since yesterday's rains, and I'm sure a lot of them possibly did just pop out today, but I did notice a few yesterday, so I'm guessing before the rain, so I'm guessing it's a recent bloom that's happened within the last week. It was about a week since I was last here, and it certainly does make for a wonderful scene. I was in South Africa a couple of weeks ago and was very fortunate to be able to head up to the West Coast National Park, where there's an incredible wildflower blooming every August and September, and I was absolutely shocked at the amount of flowers in this place. It was ridiculous, so I'm quite happy to see some here as well. Not quite as many as the West Coast National Park, but certainly creating a magic scene. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit nervous that the cheetahs may be getting up and getting ready to move, so I think we should start heading back there. And I also want to be waiting there in case the rain does start to fall. We'll be in position where we can just drop down all of our flaps and prepare for the onslaught. Wonderful stuff. Well, as we make our way back to the cheetah, you are going to be making your way back to the spotted cat with Tristan down in Djuma.
Well, we are still with our spotted cat, and hopefully Scott will have some luck with his cheetah and see more epic sightings of them, because, well, I think Scott has been spoilt more than anybody. He's had some amazing stuff. I've seen some crazy videos of those cheetah chasing varying animals around. It's just the most ridiculous thing to watch those 5 cheetahs on the move. So I'm sure Scott will get treated, and if there's a storm rolling in, hopefully that will inspire them to do a bit of hunting. Now Hosanna is still panting away, and I believe that Scott was discussing, do cats ever overheat and get heat stroke? Well, it is very, very possible for a cat to get heat stroke. It's highly uncommon in the wild cats because they are able to deal with it as long as they can find shade and they can find water. They are generally fine. The problem with them is if they get caught out in an area with no shade and no access to water, then heat stroke can set in very, very quickly with a cat. It's something that is quite dangerous for cats, and you'll find that when they're panting, it means that they are very warm. Now, the panting is much the same as what we were discussing earlier. It helps to cool the body down, and how it basically works is that there's saliva on the tongue and in the mouth as air is pushed over it, and that rapid breathing is happening. So there's evaporation. That evaporation causes cooling, and therefore the blood inside the mouth and that area cools down and then goes back into the body. And that's a very basic kind of way of looking at it, but that's how they do it, and that's why they pant a lot, particularly in the summer months. Let's see, it looks like he's going to go up the tree. Hopefully he's going to do it, so this might be perfect timing for us. Let's have a look. He's walking towards the tree, a little sniffing, a bit of dust in the air at the moment. In fact, there's been a lot of dust in the air. No, we're going to go to the loo first. Now you can see he's just in front of the car at the moment, and it's a bit of a difficult area that we're in. We're in a place where there's a steep slope and it goes up onto the other side, so it's not a place that is easy to kind of negotiate. And so hopefully if he does go up, what we might do is just quickly sneak around onto the other side once he's up in the tree, because the light from the other side will be absolutely beautiful. It will be that late afternoon light, and Hosanna has a nice gold color to him, so if there's a bit of nice light on him, it will be fantastic. But he looks like he's going towards the tree. He's certainly gazing with big eyes. Are you going to lie down there, right next to the car? Yes, you are. Okay, well, I'm going to have to just go back a little bit, because otherwise we can't see any of him. You can see the front of the car over there, so we'll just try and... So yours is behind me here, and he's just saying that he'll move a little bit for me. But if I go back to there, Seb, is that worse or better? There we go, so that's okay. We don't have to stress too much. But yours is being very nice and moving a little bit fast so that we can see him better, which is very kind of him. And you can see every now and then he stares over towards where Thandi is and has a little look. Leo, you're wondering how often big cats will drink water. Well, Leo, big cats drink water regularly, so you'll find, especially in a situation when it's hot like this, that they'll probably go down to water at least twice, maybe probably even 3 times in a day to gain the water that they need. They'll need about 3 to 5 liters a day, so they're going to drink quite regularly. In cooler temperatures, obviously less of amount of water is needed. Also, you'll find when they have carcasses, particularly fresh carcasses, and lions do this a lot more than what the leopards would, but the lions will actually drink a lot of the blood and gain moisture from the blood of the victim or the prey that they've caught. So they will get moisture from that, but after they've eaten, the process of them digesting and breaking down all of that tissue, as well as the heat and the breathing rate that quickens, means that they do get quite thirsty after a kill. And you'll find as soon as they've had something, they then tend to head to water and go get something to drink. Look how he's sniffing around. I wonder if maybe the scent of Tundi is not in this area as well. Oh, is it just too hot, my boy? Are you trying to find somewhere where it's nice and cool? Mike, you're wondering, when a leopard is looking for a territory, which direction does he know to head into? Mike, well, basically there'll be lots of natural factors that will lead him into territory. So firstly, he's going to hear the dominant males of this area calling. So he's going to hear Tingana making a noise, Anderson making a noise, Quarantine, Kunuma, all of those guys making a lot of vocalizing at night. So he's going to know there's a territorial leopard if there's vocalizing. There'll also be chemical signatures through scent marking. So Tingana, when he does his scent marking patrols, is marking his territory. Hosana will come across that, he'll sniff it, and through organs in the roof of his mouth, in those little pits called the Jacobson organ, he'll analyze that chemical scent and he'll be able to know, okay, that's a dominant male in this area. And so he'll keep moving through these kind of dominant male areas until he finds a place where there's very little marking, very little audio, and there is still food and water and safe areas to inhabit, and that's when he'll start to set up his territory. Or if he's lucky, he's going to come into a place where there's maybe a male that died for some reason, maybe lions have got hold of it or something like that, and there's a gap and he can then wedge himself in there. Or he's going to have to fight for it, and that means he's going to go after another male, and he's going to have a competition and try and oust that male from that area. And basically that's what happened with the Mvula, Tingana and Anderson. So when I first started at Chitwa, Mvula was the dominant male around Chitwa. Here on Djuma, he came in a little bit, but there was a male called Jordan that was around here, and so Mvula was just south of Jordan and to the east, so into Torchwood and Coral, those areas, and a bit into Mala Mala. Then Jordan disappeared and Mvula started shifting a lot further north. Then Anderson started to appear, and that pushed Tingana from Elephant Plains, Simambili side, pushed him further east, and that then pushed Mvula north into Buffelshoek, and then Anderson took over where Tingana was. So there's an ever-changing flow in it, and as they get bigger and stronger, so they'll be more confrontational to other male leopards around them and try and expand their territory as much as possible. But it's all to do with chemical and audio in terms of which direction they're heading to be able to find a territory. It also depends if they get chased. If Hosana gets chased by Tingana, you might find a situation where he's going to end up going into another area, and he's going to try and move south if he gets chased south, or north if he gets chased north. It just depends on how that male that's in the area pushes him and moves him and makes him kind of go into different places. Right, now the beautiful Hosana is looking around, scanning the skies and hoping not to see any signs of vultures. That's why he would have put his carcass in the tree. And so, talking about vultures, I believe our friend James Henry is also out with a bird of prey.
Good afternoon to all the viewers. I'm not allowed to say good afternoon everybody anymore, because then Craig, who is on camera today, will tease me mercilessly. My name is James Henry, and it's wonderful to have you with us on the vehicle. I know we've had a very late start today. It's just because we've been searching for things here on the Masai Mara National Reserve side of the Mara River, and the first thing of great interest we have found is Africa's largest eagle. That, of course, is the Marshall eagle. And behind the Marshall eagle, sitting in a glorious tree, is yet another dry season storm that seems to be thundering up overhead. Isn't he a magnificent fellow? Not common, but they are around from time to time. He's eyeing a herd of wildebeest. I think it's very unlikely that, even despite his 2.8 meter wingspan, 2.7 meter wingspan on a very big one, I think it's still unlikely that he's going to take himself a fully grown wildebeest. Even a small wildebeest would be much too much for him. He's more into lizard. He is a great fan of rock monitors. See how he turned his head immediately as I said rock monitors. Yes, I haven't seen any, I'm sorry. Now, we're as live as all the rest, so please do talk to us using the hashtag #SafariLive or questions. No, not questions, no. Hashtag #SafariLive or the chat section of the YouTube broadcast. Yes, Kestrel Fox, you say, ooh, that's not a vulture, that's a very pretty eagle. They are pretty, but I think they're quite intimidating looking too. I think they've got a very sort of mean and serious face. Not mean, very serious and sort of intimidating looking face, I suppose. They look a bit like one of the angry girlfriend I once had. Yeah, I get a little bit sort of shivery when I see a martial eagle. Our plan this afternoon, other than avoiding the wetness, oh dear, my phone is now talking to me. Every single time I come out on drive, Siri of the phone decides it needs to talk to me, which is very disconcerting. Anyway, our plan is to head off to the east. We've come to Lookout Hill to look for some lions, didn't find any. We're going to the east where we have reports from our fearless technical genius Jared Jennings, who says that there are hundreds of thousands of wildebeest there in the far east of the Mara. So that's where we're going now. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Kimberly, what a very good question. You said, do all us guides have proper rain protection? I'm going to go along with no. None of us have proper rain protection. This is because we live in Africa. Now, there are a couple of things that happen when you live in Africa. The first thing, especially if you live in South Africa or in Kenya, is that you get amnesia when bad weather happens. So, for example, in Johannesburg, where I live, it's cold for 3 months of the year. Nobody is prepared for the cold, but they forget on the 1st of September that it has been cold, and so they never sort themselves out. The same goes for rain. It's mostly dry, which means that when it does rain, it's always an enormous surprise, and everyone gets wet. Let's head back across to the Small Chief with Tristan. I think we have a 19-second delay today, so I'm not sure how long I'm going to have to keep waffling before you're able to go across to him. Alice, tell me how long. Alice? Oh, we're not doing a countdown. We can just stop speaking and then you'll link when you're ready. Okay, bye, see you later.
Well, James, I can understand the 19 seconds is not very easy as well. We have it on our side too, so it's kind of waffle on for 19 seconds as we wait to go across to you guys. So I understand full well how it goes. But you can see Osana is not really interested in too much at the moment. Still panting. There's vehicles coming in. But what I have noticed, which is quite nice, is just off to my right-hand side here, Seb, if you can have a look for me, as the guaris are starting to flower, which is fantastic news. So here is a guari tree over on this side, and these guys will start flowering now. There you can see the little flowers. And after that, we will then get little fruits that will start coming out. And those fruits are going to be perfect for a number of different birds, and it's really a great time of the year because the guaris start to become a huge hive of activity. And I'm so excited because things are about to start changing in the next little bit, where we're going to start getting amazing views of insects coming and flowers coming out, and it's going to be really a fantastic time of the year. So good to see that spring is starting and that we are starting to see these kind of plants. The other plant that I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing flowering here, I've seen a few flowering already on my way in this afternoon, but not in the Djuma section, is the boer beans. And they are such a beautiful plant when they flower. They've got these bright maroon flowers that come off the tree, and it's just laden with them. It really is very pleasant. Unfortunately, our sausage tree doesn't flower because they also have a beautiful maroon flower, and when the sausage tree flowers, those trees become just the most epic places to spend time. I remember when I was down at Lion Sands, we used to have these beautiful big sausage trees on the Sabi river there, and you'd find the multitude of animal species and bird species and insects that used to go to those trees was just absolutely phenomenal. And it was there that I learned that the sausage tree, funny enough, is pollinated primarily by bats. So fruit bats at night go up into the flowers and they feed off the nectar and then off to the next tree, and that's how pollination happens with the sausage trees. So birds and insects will help, but it's mostly bats that actually do the work, which is pretty interesting. But Hosanna keeps looking up. I think it's getting to that time. The temperature has really kind of cooled off quite nicely now. It's not nearly as warm as what we had at the start of the drive. Hosanna obviously is looking at me just to say, speak for yourself. You don't have a fur coat wrapped around you. But it definitely is getting a lot cooler now. There's a bit of a breeze and it's starting to become a lot more pleasant. And I'm hoping that this is going to lead to him starting to maybe go up into the tree. He keeps looking up at that steenbok, and I think the promise of nice fresh meat instead of this rotten impala that he's had for 2 days is proving to be quite tempting. So he keeps looking up there, and I reckon that we're going to see him maybe going up into the tree fairly soon. I wonder if he hasn't seen Thandi moving around and he's now going to go that way, or he just wants a drink of water. Interesting, because Thandi is straight where he's walking now, so on the other side of this riverbed is where Thandi is. So what I might do is actually sneak across. No, we're going to lie down there for now. But isn't it beautiful with that golden light? Very nice. Now he's just settled down that side. I think what we should do is maybe try and just do a little loop round back to Thandi and see what she's up to. Adele, this is an interesting question, and one that I don't have an exact answer for, and I can't provide you with a exact answer. But you want to know, will Hosanna become sexually mature earlier because of his independence at such an early age? Well, probably yes. Probably he will start to seek out females a lot earlier and try and establish himself a lot earlier, given that he's been on his own for a long period of time. But there is a little bit of a physical sort of side of it. He's got to get bigger before he's able to actually mate. But there is a really interesting example of young male leopard mating, and that's down in the south of the Sabi Sands at the moment. There's a cub from the recently deceased white dam female, and as far as I know, I think it's from him, and Taylor will know better than I will, but he seems to be a young individual that's mating with all the females down there, even though there is a presence of big males like Shovo and Mashaben and these guys that are big adult males. He somehow has wormed his way in there, and even though he's not fully grown yet, he seems to have somehow done it. So I would imagine with Hosanna, yes, he will start coming into a system where he'll start to try and come into mating a little bit earlier, but there's also a physical side of things where he's going to have to dominate an area and keep other males at bay in order to successfully mate with females. So he might get lucky every now and then and find a female and there's no other males anywhere nearby and he can mate for a day or two, but I reckon that he's still got some time until that happens. I would say only when he reaches about 3.5 at the earliest is he going to get lucky. Normally you'll find male leopards only 4 or 5 when they start actually mating properly with females and actually starting to produce offspring. Now our Hosanna has turned his back to us and is facing the opposite way, so as I was saying earlier, I think I'm going to go back around to where Thandi is just to go and have a little look and see what she's up to and see if she's not looking around. And while we do that, let's go across to Miss McCurdy and see if she can do her best crown crane impression with the flock that she's in.
This is so amazing. I'm so excited right now. I've never seen crowned cranes before. And we haven't just got one. We've got 3. How cool is this? Now, I don't even know what to tell you about them. I'm so excited. This is amazing. We literally just came around the corner. We were heading towards the Jackal den. We're not far from the Jackal den now either. And these 3 beautiful birds were just here waiting for us. And they're so close to the car as well. So I need to add this one to the list. I actually didn't even realize that they occurred here. How great is that? Now, so Tristan, you've already said you want me to do a crowned crane impression. I don't even know what a crowned crane sounds like, Tristan. I have absolutely no idea. So what I might have to do is I might have to try and find the call on the interweb somewhere so that I can listen to it, because my bird app, shall we check my bird app? I don't think it has got crowned cranes on. In South Africa, we get the blue crane, which is our national bird. And thanks to Jar, he says that the crowned crane is actually the national bird of Uganda. How exciting is that? So let's look. Let's see what cranes I've got on my list. Maybe it's here. Maybe it will surprise me. Crane. Oh, it is. It is too. Okay, let's hear the call. Is this it? I'm going to stop it because I'm getting the birds excited. Sounds like a dog or in distress. I actually don't know what that noise is. Now, of course, my phone is being... It's Tristan. Tristan is sending me voice notes now, obviously, to say, this is probably what Tristan said to me. Taylor, stop being a sissy. Just do a crowned crane impression, for goodness sake. I don't know how to do one. That's amazing. That's the first time I've heard that. But what spectacular birds we have here. Now, I hope you get some good screenshots of them as well. I would love to, of course, see these pictures a little bit later. Now, Mr. P, you say, wow, just beautiful. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Oh, listen. Something's got them excited. Look how cool is that? Wonder what's given them a bit of a fright. Now they seem to be relaxing, though. Back down on the ground, pecking away. Now, if they're like the other cranes, look how alert they are. That's incredible when they pop their heads up like that. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. This is so cool. So, I would only presume that they eat a variety of different things, like the blue crane. So, from insects to small invertebrates, maybe even mammals like little rats and mice, maybe. I don't know. Now, P. Hart, you're wondering if they're the same as crested cranes. I think they are. I think crowned or crested is acceptable, and that is, of course, the absolute norm. My hair is now blowing everywhere because I was trying to take 1 or 2 pictures before you came to us because I was obviously so excited, and I've never seen these birds before, so I obviously had to get a few sneaky snaps in. Let me fix my hair. Isn't that the most annoying thing? Anybody that has long hair out there will know that the wind just manages to grab the little wispy bits and put in your eye, tickle your nose, get in your ears. It's never quite nice. That is so cool. I cannot believe that I saw them. I didn't even think that I would see these birds out here. But again, I haven't really had too much opportunity to go through my books and look at all the different birds. So what a wonderful surprise. But I think what we're going to do now is we're going to head towards the jackal den and have a quick look around and see if the jackals are home. But I'm going to send you back across to Tristan. I'm not sure where he's going, but seeing as though he's giving me a lot of grief about doing the crown crane call, I'm sure he'll be excited to do one himself.
Oh, Taylor, I'll do one once you do one. I sent you a voice note actually quickly just to give you an idea of what to do. So once Taylor does her crown crane, then I'll follow suit and do mine too. Oh, did she do one? She did do one. Okay, Taylor, I will do one just now, but I've got just to head somewhere quickly. Before I do anything, I just want to try and see if we can't find Shadow, who apparently is somewhere just down this road, not far from where we are. So we're just quickly having a little look to see if Shadow's maybe also going to join the party this afternoon, and we'll just have a trifecta of leopards. We said we might have 3, and we called Tingana earlier, but maybe we'll just get Shadow as well. So while Hosana and Tundi are sleeping, and there's a number of other vehicles that want to come and see those two, so we thought we'd just take a leave of absence for a little bit and try and see if we can't have a look and find Shadow. She was seen crossing the main road towards our side, so hopefully she is here somewhere. Seb, you're going to have to look out nicely. Also, I have absolutely no idea how a crown crane goes. I have seen crown cranes, luckily in Botswana. They're a beautiful bird, but I actually have no idea what their call sounds like. I'm much like Taylor in that I don't know. I'll have to try and get the app out and listen to the call before mimicking. Seb, you still on there?
Yeah.
Good. There's a very nasty tree root on Shabamu Road these days, and when you drive over it, it's very unpleasant, and the poor cameraman gets flicked off the back at a rate of knots, so I always have to try go a little slow over there. I sometimes forget. The other day, poor Senzo, I was trying to get to Shongile, and poor Senzo was on the back, and we almost lost Senzo that day. He luckily held onto the camera. Alright, so somewhere here apparently is where she was seen. I wonder if she's not just cruising around on the road. Let's just quickly check the tracks here. Okay, so no tracks leading that direction. Maybe she's just crossed briefly and gone back again. We'll soon find out. As soon as we find some sort of footprint, that will be able to tell us where exactly she's gone. But wouldn't it be insane if she did arrive at Treehouse Dam with the rest of them? So Monique in London, hello Monique, I hope you're well. Monique came and visited us here a few months ago, so I hope you're well, Monique. And Villiers, I actually saw him just now, and I'm sure he sends his best as well. But Monique, you say I need to find her for you. I know when you were here you were desperate to see Shadow, and we tried very hard to find her while you were here, and unfortunately we didn't. But we'll try our very best, Monique, and hopefully I will find her here somewhere. But I don't see any sign of her tracks yet coming over, so I don't know if maybe she crossed straight over the road and into one of these thickets, which will make things a little bit more difficult. But let's try nonetheless and see, maybe we get lucky. It's worth a shot anyway. Like I said, there was others that wanted to Charles, you're wondering if Shadow's cub has got a name yet? Not as far as I know, Charles. Still a little bit young for that. Normally get named at around a year old, so January would be a year for that cub. So a few more months until it will receive a official name, but nothing as yet. Nobody's really done it, and unfortunately it won't be up to us to name Shadow. She had the cub on Arethusa, and in all likelihood they will be the guys that will end up naming that cub. So it will go to a vote at a head rangers meeting, and somewhere around then we'll get an answer as to whether or not what the name is and what the options are. So hopefully it will be something good. I'm sure it will be. The guys generally come up with quite cool ones. We'll have to just get the spelling right and consult James and Brent, who always are very good with that kind of stuff. Now, I don't see any sign of her. I don't see any tracks even. Tony, you say Shadow is a fitting name right now? Well, most certainly. Shadow has got to be one of those leopards that I've probably spent more hours looking for and not found than any of the others. I've really spent a lot of time tracking her, particularly on Arethusa. And Arethusa is a tough place to track, particularly that northern side, and even Simbambili, that area. There's a lot of small drainage sections that are very dense, very thick bush areas, and they are really tough to find a leopard in. So it's quite a hard place, and she's notoriously difficult with it. She often doesn't walk on roads, so she'll just cut over and into a thicket like this and then walk through that way. So you've got to just get kind of lucky and bump into her from time to time, or if she's got a carcass. That's normally the easiest way to find Shadows, if she somehow has a carcass. And you don't generally have a big window with Shadow when she's got a carcass, because very seldom does she actually hoist the carcass. Most of the time her carcasses are on the ground and generally get robbed by hyenas, so you normally only have the morning or the afternoon to find her if she does if she's made a kill during the night. Right, Seb, I don't see anything this side. I wonder. Let's just do a loop around, maybe we'll get lucky. So Melissa, you're wondering if leopards will kill leopard cubs like the lions do? Most certainly. So there used to be a male in this area called Mafufanyan, and Mafufanyan in fact was actually Karula's father, and Mafufanyan used to have a nasty habit of killing male cubs for some reason, even when they were tiny. I remember the one day we had tracked in Djuma, who was a female that occurred south of us, pretty much where Shadow hangs out these days, so that kind of area. And in Djuma had just had new cubs, and we had spent hours trying to find the den, and we had not really much luck. And all of a sudden we had this kind of kill, and there were the cubs, and in Djuma and Mafufanyan, they were all together, and everything seemed really great. And we kind of left them that night and everything was fine. Went back the next morning and they'd finished the kill and everyone had moved off. And so we followed the tracks for in Djuma and the cubs, and we tracked and we tracked and we tracked, and the more we tracked, we couldn't find her, and she was moving quite a bit, and Mafufanyan's tracks kept kind of secting on these tracks. And eventually, late in the drive, we managed to find her on foot, and as we drove the vehicles in, Mafufanyan ran in and he actually grabbed both of the cubs and killed them in front of us. And then both of those cubs were male cubs, and he used to do it quite regularly, which was quite strange. And I know with Tingana he's killed a couple of his own cubs as well, which is odd. But in terms of other males, if other males had mated, then they most certainly will kill. Let's say hypothetically in a situation Tundi now breeds with Tingana and Anderson moves in here, he will kill those cubs to bring her back into estrus. And that's why you'll find with female leopards and female lions, they both do this, is that they'll go way outside of their territories and they'll find different males and they'll mate with those in those areas to try and then ensure that if there's a male that comes in from the fringes and outskirts of their territory, that they're also fooled into thinking that those cubs are theirs. So it's quite interesting how the females do it. I remember Kruger, who used to be dominant here on Djuma, we used to see her sometimes all the way on the Londolozi Singita Elephant Plains boundary, which is way out of her territory. Oh no, don't fly so fast, maybe it will land. There's a little sparrowhawk that's just come over, or a goshawk. I'm just trying to see if it's going to land. It's just drifting away in the distance there. No, it's gone a bit far, sorry Seb. But you can just see it through there. Very difficult to ID one of these accipiters when they move that quickly. But you can hear a lot of the birds alarm calling as it's going. So we'll try and go down. It's actually going towards where I want to head. So maybe we'll find it sitting in a tree somewhere that side. I know there's a pair of gabbard goshawks that actually spends time in this area. And so maybe, just maybe, we will find them sitting somewhere. Now I must congratulate Byron on his bird challenge. When I left, he was in the midst of his challenge and trying very hard to find some sort of sign of any bird to add to his numbers, and he managed to do it really well. So super happy for him. 100 birds in 2 weeks at this time of the year is really quite difficult, so he's done quite well. I'm very impressed, and hopefully all the summer migrants will start coming back and the birding will become a lot easier. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't find Shadow, and while I do that, let's quickly jump across to Scott and see whether he's regained visual of those cheetahs.
Just showing you this dramatic and beautiful scene as the sun starts to dip down to the west. Sunset will be in about half an hour or so. I do not know if we'll see it setting, but certainly it is creating some magical views in the meantime. We've got a few wildebeest and Tommies dotted on the horizon, and it's a very calm, peaceful and exceptionally still afternoon. It is an absolute cracker of a day here, or it has been. And thankfully it seems like the rain that was looking quite... what is the word I'm looking for? It was looking like it was coming straight for us, basically. And it has veered off to the east, so I think we are safe from the rain for now. But we did take some precautionary measures and just drop one flap on the left-hand side of the vehicle in case it starts raining. We'll be ready to deploy the flaps quickly. Oh, there's a topi running through the wildebeest and zebra. Lisa, you've just commented, wow, just stunning, and I couldn't agree more. It really is a magical scene we are enjoying here. If you go to the left a tiny bit, Manu, well, there's some oxpeckers. Yeah, it looks like there's some oxpeckers sitting on the back of, although no, those look possibly, they could actually be wattled starlings. They also sit on the backs of zebras, but they're enjoying the sunset from, oh no, those are oxpeckers, I think, who glean off the parasites and take the odd ride on whichever animal they've decided to clean off their parasites. A very handy feature for a lot of these herbivores. Now, Taylor was heading off to the not hyena den, a jackal den, and I think she's just arrived, so why don't you get an update from her on whether it's active or not.
Sadly, it is not active. I'm confused. The same thing this morning happened. We arrived, we sat for a little bit, but unfortunately nothing really came out to greet us. And I haven't seen the adults around, so I don't know if they've maybe moved den sites. I can't imagine that they would have moved because of us. We've kept our distance every single time. I mean, I've only really sat once with them and viewed them. When we found them at night, we spotted them from the distance. We actually left them alone because there were so many other predators predators in the area. We didn't want to attract them to this den site because they will kill them. And then the other morning arrived, they got a bit nervous, but one came out and was very relaxed, and he stopped at a very similar distance. But it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe just moved to another den around here. They do that. Like hyenas, the same thing happened. Well, and with warthogs and aardvark, a lot of parasites build up in these dens, and it can become a little bit unpleasant. And we know that, like hyenas, they like to move every few weeks or so, and jackals will do a similar thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I might come through here one night when we've got the infrared and come and have a look around here and scan and see if we can't see any movement from the adults. Because if those youngsters are with only a couple of weeks old, I think I said I thought they were maybe about 9 weeks old or so, maybe they're even a little bit less than that. But that's also coming to the age where they'll start to leave the den. They weren't tiny little things. Obviously, they were very sweet and very fluffy, but you could already start to see the black sort of stripe developing over their shoulders right down towards their tail. So I thought that maybe they were a little bit older, and then I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually move on and start following the adults around. Maybe we just caught the den too late, but we'll keep searching. I don't think they would have gone far. Jackals also hold territories, so they should be somewhere around here. I did a bit of reading, and they said in this area the average size jackal sort of territory is about or blackback jackal territory is about 2.5 kilometers squared. So that's not huge. It's manageable. So we'll keep coming and checking around here, but just think we need to count ourselves lucky how incredible it was just to get that one view. Now Ascari is pointing at something. Let me just check with my binoculars. Let's just see what we can see in the distance. Have you seen something?
Seeing in the direction of the camera.
Let's see if we can spot. Now Nasiti, like I said, he's our Ascari. He's got unbelievable eyesight. I think I see a Thompson's gazelle moving in the grass, sort of in that direction. I wonder if that was not what we've seen. Yeah, I think it is. There's a couple of Thompson's gazelle around. Okay. Well, we'll keep searching. We might head back towards the lions now to see if they have perhaps gotten up. A little bit of a drive, though. I'm going to send you back across to Tristan, who is now searching for a leopard by the name of Shadow.
Well, we were searching for her, but no sign that I can see. I can't find any tracks of her crossing, so I don't know if she just went straight back to the south again, or if she's come up towards Treehouse Dam. I can hear a squirrel alarm calling, so I want to just stop at the dam here for a second and just listen. It might, of course, be Tundi or Hosanna that are in the tree now. That could be causing them to be a little bit on edge, but I don't see anything. It'd be amazing, though, if Shadow did arrive. To have the three of them would be quite interesting. I don't know.
Right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a leopard right here. Let me reposition for you, Seb. You're going to have a lot easier if I reposition. So, the squirrel was alarm calling, but I don't know if that's Shadow. It could be Tundi. It looks like Tundi to me from the top, but of course that could be completely wrong. But I don't think Tundi and Shadow have met up since they kind of separated and went on their own ways. I don't know if there's a recorded sighting of them doing that, so let's see if we get in here, Seb. It's going to be a bit of foliage in the way, but oh, look at that light. Isn't that magnificent? That is unbelievable. Beautiful. There is something about cats drinking in light like this that is just phenomenally good. I don't know why. I always just like seeing them when they drink in this orange light. It is beautiful. You can see, I'm sure she's going to be very thirsty after sitting in the sun all day long. But that is as good as it gets, I would say. But you can see, so we were talking earlier about how frequently they would drink water. Well, the answer to that is very frequently, particularly on a hot day like today. So I'm not surprised that she's here. It's maybe why Hosanna actually started to move earlier, is because he heard the squirrel's alarm calling and Tundi moving in this direction to drink water. So could be why he came out this way, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually comes to investigate what's happening. But she couldn't have chosen a better spot to drink. That light is ridiculously good. Sept doesn't get much better than that, does it? Now she's just... So Noel, you're wondering why leopards have light underneath their eyes and cheetahs have dark underneath their eyes? Well, no, the reason for that is because cheetah activity generally is more during the day, so that darker pattern underneath the eye just helps to reduce the glare of the light of the sun and in the grass, whereas the leopards are active more at night, and so a lighter coloration will just help to bring light into the eye and to... Wait, it is shadow. It's shadow. Look at that. So we've got the third one. That's amazing, Seb. Let me just let the guys know. That's ridiculous. Hello, Shadow. What you doing here? Yeah, Shadow is puzzling mighty at Treehouse Dam if anyone's interested. That's crazy. What are the chances of having Shadow, Tundi, and Hosanna within this little bit? That's crazy. Hello, Shadow. What a way to come back to work. 3 leopards in one afternoon is ridiculous. That is about as good as it gets. Now, I'm just going to try and reverse. There she goes. She's walking off. I was thinking when she was drinking there for a second that she didn't look quite as full-bellied as what Tundi did earlier. But it's most definitely Shadow, and I'm so happy to see her from this pure point of view that she's walking so much better than the last time I saw her. The last time I saw her, that foot was being held up. She was not even moving at all. It was really didn't look good. But now she's basically got her foot moving. She's putting weight on it. That is fantastic news. So I'm super happy to see that she's walking the way that she is. That is great, great news. Well done, Shadow. And apparently she's had a few kills lately, which is fantastic. So it really is the most epic thing. Now, I wonder where her cub is. Hopefully her cub is somewhere around as well. I wonder if she's going to pick up the scent maybe of Tundi or Hosanna and actually go towards them. Wouldn't that be quite something to see the 2 sisters come together? Like I say, I would love to know when the last time the 2 sisters were seen together in this particular, well, in ever, because I don't know of a sighting of the 2 sisters together since they were with Karula as cubs. So that could have been now, what, 7 years ago since that happened. So it will be really interesting to see the interaction between these 2. For at this stage, she's not really going in the direction of Tundi or Hosanna. She's kind of moving her way actually the opposite direction, but interesting nonetheless that she's so close, and I feel like there is going to be a meeting of the sisters at some point soon. But I'm so happy that she's not walking as badly as she was last time. She really is walking a lot better now. That's great news, sure. David, you're wondering if Tundi's a threat to Shadow's cub? Well, theoretically, yes. So once they become separated like this and they no longer are sort of cub mates and they become adult females, they no longer want anything to do with one another. They'll actually become competition for area and territory, and they will then fight with one another, and cubs will be a part of that. So it does happen that they will fight with the cubs and they will go after one another. So it is something that we will see. If Tundi does see the cub, she might be aggressive towards it. It's exactly like she was with Shongile. Where are you going? Now there's a beautiful termite mound coming up, and that termite mound, I've always wanted to see a leopard on top of it. So I wonder if today is the day that we're going to see Shadow going up onto the termite mound. It's just in front of us. That big tree that you see over there, the termite mound is at the base of that, so I'm hoping that's where she's going to head. Just going to have to be careful on the left here, Seb. Yep. Ali, you want to know if I saw Shadow as a cub? Unfortunately not, Ali. When I first got here, Tundi and Shadow were about 3.5 years old, so they had just gone independent. In fact, within the first 5 months of me being here, Tundi had her first litter of cubs, so I got to see Tundi's first litter when there were still actually 2 of them, and then unfortunately she lost the one, and then she had Wabayiza, who was eventually then killed by the Styx Pride. So I didn't get to see them as cubs, unfortunately, but I did see them when they were still much younger individuals than what they are now. But how cool is this? What a way to come back to work. 3 leopards, all of the Kruger lineage as well. What a wonderful day. And of course we are completely forgetting about the lions. The whole Nkahuma Pride is also not very far from here either. They're on Weaver's Nest, so it's not a big distance from where we are now. What are the chances, Seb?
Amazing.
Mike, you're wondering if it's possible that Shadow is shadowing other leopards because of her injuries. Mike, no, I don't think so. I think if anything, she's going to try and avoid other leopards as much as possible. She's not in full fitness, which means that she can't kind of keep up with a lot of these leopards and can't actually fight and protect herself as well as she would if she was fully fit. So I would imagine that she's trying to actually avoid leopards more than she's trying to go anywhere near them, and that means that she's probably trying to just fly under the radar. And it's also could be why she's maybe sniffed out Tundi and Hosanna and has gone the opposite direction. She doesn't seem to be salivating in any way or scent marking, which means that she's not too stressed about any of the sort of smells that she's come across. Often when they smell another female, they'll start to salivate heavily, they'll start calling, they'll start making a lot of noise, but she doesn't seem to be doing that. But I don't think she'll want to be near other leopards, because remember, other leopards potentially means that she's going to have to fight. If she has to fight, that could then worsen that injury. Or if she has a situation where she kills something, it might get stolen from her, so better for her to stay away from everybody else and to just try and fly under the radar until she's fully healed. But she is walking, I can't even tell you, the difference between when we saw her last time and now is indescribable. There literally was not 1 ounce of weight being put on that leg a few weeks ago, and now she's walking. It's a little bit of a limp, and it's one that I would expect from her, but it's not something that in any way is going to hinder her ability to survive. She'll quite easily be able to still hunt on that. She'll have enough adrenaline to get up into trees if there was a threat of other lions or other leopards, should I say, and lions. So she's doing so much better, and the prognosis for her to survive is that much better now that she's walking like this. You can see she's fully resting on those front feet, which is fantastic. And I love, this is my favorite thing about leopards, when they curl their tail like that. That is one of the best things, when it's up in the air and they curl it in that bright white, particularly in golden light like we're in now, and it shows and it's kind of silhouetted. It is the best thing. And the reason why she's doing it is because grey go-away birds and squirrels have alarm called at her, and so she's now trying to just show them, I'm not in any way a threat, leave me alone, do not shout at me, I'm not going to hunt you. Careful there, Seb. We've got to careful our earpieces because we don't have any more left, and I broke a whole bunch last cycle, so let's try not to do that this cycle, Seb. You'll have to remind me when we off-road, because otherwise you know how I get. Chastity, you say that Seb and myself need to get a lottery ticket. What have you spotted, girl? You've spotted something, because her demeanor has changed completely. You see how she's gotten a bit lower, a little bit more fixed on what's ahead of us. I wonder if she's not spotted a steenbok or a duiker somewhere in here. Wouldn't that be something if she caught the partner steenbok to the one that Tundi caught? That would be quite a weird scenario, but one that could happen. But Chastity, I think so. I think today would be the day. It's pity we didn't play the lottery the other day in the United States, the $736 million or whatever it was. That would have been quite something to win. Seb, what would we have done? A lot.
A lot.
Travel a lot. Exactly. Seb, I'm going to move forward a bit for you so you can see her face. But yes, that would have been quite nice. Maybe we should get a lotto ticket. Seb and I will get a lotto ticket, and we'll have to let all of you guys know if we manage to actually win anything, because that would be quite funny if we did. Of course, it wouldn't stop me from doing what I do. And Seb and I were actually having this conversation today because I brought Seb back from town this morning, and we were talking about how we love doing what we do, and we wouldn't do it even if we were older and in retirement age, that we'd probably both still be in the bush because, well, we just enjoy being out here. And so even I think if we had money and won a lottery like that, I don't think it would change too much from my side. Seb, I'm sure you would still want to film wildlife all over the world. So Seb says you'll buy the best camera and then go filming wildlife everywhere. Okay, Seb. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to try and play the lottery later. James, you're saying with Salahesh's territory now open, that maybe Shadow will just relinquish this Djuma area for Thandi and move into that area and avoid the conflict. James, I don't think so, and the reason why I say that is because even though Shadow potentially could move into that area, there's by no means no conflict that side. If she goes there, she's still going to have to try and fight with Tiani. She's going to have to try and fight with Ingrid Dam, young female, Ingrid Dam, Moya, Nsele. Who else is around that side? That's about it in terms of the females that would be able to kind of put up resistance. So those are all big girls. They're not small. That lineage, Salahesh's lineage, is not small individuals. And in fact, Tiani is bigger than Shadow already now. So she would have her work cut out pushing towards Salahesh's area. And I don't think she would go there. You never know, though. I remember when I was at Simambili that we used to have Shadow drinking in front of the lodge sometimes, which is way, way, way out. And that was when she was mating quite a lot with Anderson. So it's possible, but I don't think so. I think she knows the core of her territory. She knows areas very well, and she'll want to keep those as much as possible for herself. So I don't think that we're going to get a situation that she's going to try and move into Salahesh's territory. It's far more likely that Tiani, Ingrid Dam, young female, in Sele, Moya, they start to control, in Chila, they start to control Salahesh's territory, and each one takes a chunk of it rather than somebody taking that whole territory. Much like what we've seen now with Karula's territory, is that slowly but surely females are gleaning off chunks of this territory. So Shadow is here at Treehouse Dam and taking most of this western side. Thandi seems to be Treehouse Dam to the east, and to the north we're seeing Tiani and in Chile moving into those areas every now and then. I mean, we haven't seen them much on our drives, but they have been seen in Milford's So, chunks get kind of portioned off to the females that are on the fringes of those territories. So I don't think she's going to end up going that way, and certainly not now that she has an injury. She's going to try and stay in the core of her territory and try and heal and nurse that injury back to health, and get herself into good physical condition before she tries to expand anything. But just on the Salahesh note, I actually spoke to the guys that had a copy of her post-mortem. I'm sure a lot of you are interested as to what actually caused her death. They're still unsure. It's not a defined reason yet, but basically she had a number of health concerns, and because she was an aging individual, a lot of that health sort of issues together combined caused for her probably to die. So she did have a bit of bleeding inside the stomach, which could have happened from a fall or even an altercation with another animal, even in a kill. Maybe she, something like an impala rolled on top of her and caused a bit of that. She had porcupine quills stuck under her coat, not in her throat like has been reported. So there was no porcupine quills in the throat. She had porcupine quills in her coat that were a little bit infected. She had an enlarged liver, and she also had a few lesions on her lungs, which could be a sign of tuberculosis, which is quite common in older cats. So those kind of things all together, coupled with that cold front that we had at the time, would all be very sort of interesting, or could be causes for her to die. They have done some more tests just to check if she wasn't maybe poisoned by blue-green algae, because blue-green algae will bloom in dry conditions like this, and there's a dam very close to where she was that does show quite a lot of that blue-green algae, and in large quantities could be toxic to her. But it's very, very seldom reported in cats, and it's very seldom that it actually has effect on cats. So they don't think it's that. It's just a combination of her being slightly older and a number of other issues that were going on that led to her death. So it's nothing untoward. It's just one of those natural things. But Shadow is looking ever so beautiful in the long grass, and wow, we have been spoiled this afternoon. It has been absolutely incredible. And we've got Hosanna and Thandi and Shadow, but in the Mara, Scotty Dyson has got the other spotted cats to show all of you. Now I believe we're not going to Scott, so we're going to stay with Shadow because she's now starting to stalk a little bit. So you can see she's kind of watching. There's another vehicle on the other side there. I don't know if maybe there, like I say, is a Steenbok or a Duiker or something inside here that she's watching. I can't see anything. Seb, can you see anything? But the guys on the other side don't seem to see anything, so she's watching something. You know, their vision is just that much better than ours, and sometimes they can pick up these animals a little bit further, but she's definitely noticed something. Like I say, her whole demeanor has changed. You can see she's quite skinny still, but that is because of that injury. She's not going to be feeding as regularly. But like I say, she has come off quite a number of impala carcasses. I know of 3 now that she's had in the last 3 weeks. So she's doing quite fine. But you're being very well behaved today. Both of you and your sister. You haven't been growly at all. So there's always this kind of misconception that Shadow and Tundi are aggressive cats. And you can see that she's in no way been shown any aggression towards us, nor has she shown, or did Tundi show any aggression towards us at all. They're cats that, given the right amount of space, and if you're quiet and you don't move around too much around them, are perfectly fine. It's only when you kind of stand or you make too much noise do they get a little bit on the upset side. It seems like she's settled down again and is just watching into this thicket, so we'll sit with her a little bit and be patient. I'm also keeping an ear out to hear if maybe Hosana or Tundi goes into the tree, and so while we do that, let's try this time to go across to Scotty and his 5 male cheetahs, and hopefully they'll be up to something interesting.
Hello everyone, the Musketeer Coalition are on the move and heading to one of their usual crossing points. We tried to get some low angles to show you them silhouetted, but they've just not gone high enough up onto that ridge. It is a very, very moody afternoon with some thunder and lightning off in the distance, and thankfully for now, none of that is appearing to be here. Like I say, I think these guys are going to cross what is called the Talek River. It's a fairly small little tributary that runs into the Mara River, but sometimes it is uncrossable for both us and them. It's one of my favorite off-roading areas, having to cross this specific river. We've had some fairly hairy and exciting crossings in order to stay with these guys. Oh, we need to rush you back to Djuma.
Unfortunately, with the delay, our Duiker has run away. So there was a Duiker right here that she was stalking, and she was within, I would say, about 9 meters of that Duiker, but it then ran away and she's missed, unfortunately. But look at that setting sun and then Shadow just strolling past. Sorry, my girl. But that was very close. She got, like I say, within maybe 8-9 meters before the Duiker ran away. And she unfortunately came around a bush, and I didn't think she expected the Duiker to be as close as it was, because she kind of stopped and the Duiker was just staring straight at her, and she didn't really have any cover to hide behind at that point. But nonetheless, still exciting stuff to see. Seb, which way are we going to go? I wonder if she's not going to carry on hunting this. Sometimes this is what leopards do, is they do this initial chase and the Duiker runs off, and then they just try and reposition themselves again and try and kind of work out a different angle to try and get towards that Duiker. So let's try and see if we can just stay with her. I want to try and avoid as much as possible making too much noise. Are you going to come back towards the road? I think let's go to the road, Seb, because she's coming towards the road. I'm going to go to the road, and then I'm just going to sit on the road and wait for her to come out. I don't want to make too much noise. Careful there, Seb. It's so strange because this tree here on our left, as though it's almost like an indication, is the last time I saw Karula, Hosana and Shongile together. So now to have Shadow here is just an indication of just how far they're starting to push into Karula's territory and chunks that they're gleaning off of it. Where is she now? Oh, I've missed her. Sky, you're wondering if she could scavenge for food while she's injured. Sky, yes, she could. She would be able to scavenge quite easily. If she came across, let's say, something like Shongile, who had a carcass, she would be able to then scavenge from Shongile and probably steal that away from her. If it's a smaller leopard, or if she comes across some scraps that another leopard has left behind. But you can see how difficult they can be to see. Look at how she goes through that long grass. It's not as easy as you would think. And if she stops dead still right now and you're driving, to see that is really quite tough. There she goes. Look at that. Just melts into the bush, the perfect coloration. So she could scavenge, but there's a risk in scavenging, because if you're scavenging, often there's others that are in that area that are also scavenging, and the likes of hyenas and other predators like lion or leopard that could also be around, and that could lead to you getting into a lot of trouble. So you might find a situation where they will try and kind of just avoid that area, and like I say, she's going to try to lay low as much as possible. But I don't think we're going to be able to follow her much more. She's going through this horrible thicket on my right hand side. It really is very dense. So I think we're going to leave her there and let her carry on with the afternoon, and let her try and see if she's successful. It really is very thick in there, and it's not a place that we're going to be able to spend too much time. Oh, there she is. Can you still see her, Seb? Yeah, she's heading deeper in now. So I don't think we're going to get too much more of her. You can see, look at how many trees and branches and foliage there is between us and her. It's going to make life almost impossible to follow. Awesome though, nonetheless. What an epic way to start a cycle at work. If this is anything to go by, we're going to be having a really incredible next few weeks. And it's one of the reasons why I like this time of the year, is because of the dryness of the bush and the lack of water, and it means that everybody's got to come into certain areas, and that's why we're getting a concentration around Treehouse Dam, because not only predators but prey animals too come in here. And so it's really going to be an epic few weeks as we go through this change in season. Now, I rudely interrupted Scott with his cheetahs. I'm sure he would love to spend more time with all of you and them, so let's go across to him and see what they're up to.
We are just getting into position to show you some last views of the Musketeer Coalition as they head north. To the west of them is quite a moody scene, and there is certainly rain. I don't think it's going to be too serious here. The major storms seem to have missed us. And these guys are heading towards one of their usual crossing points where they like to cross the Talek River. I've had to follow them through this crossing point. It's quite hair-raising. It's good fun. I'm looking forward to taking Manu through there. And what we'll do is we'll film it, and then I'll post that on maybe on my Facebook page or on my Instagram.